Please accept humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, The Disappearance of Lord Krishna. Text 1. Sutta Vacha Sampratisite Tvarakayam Jishno Bandhu Didikshaya Natam Cha Punya Shlokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Sri Krishna and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities.
Text 2. Vyatita Katichin Masas Tadanaya Tadorjna Tadarsha Gura Rupani Nimittani Kurutvaha.
A few months passed and Arjuna did not return. Maharaj Yudhishthira then began to observe some inauspicious omens which were fearful in themselves.
Text 3. Kalasya Chakatim Rodram Viparyastartu Dharminaha Papiyasim Nirnam Bhartam Krodaloban Ritatmanam.
He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful, and he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood.
Text 4. Jihma Prayam Vivarhitam Shatya Mishram Chasoritam Pitrumatra Surit Pratra Dampatinam Chakalkanam.
All ordinary transactions and dealings became polluted with cheating, even between friends. And in familial affairs, there was always misunderstanding between fathers, mothers, and sons, between well-wishers and between brothers. Even between husband and wife, there were always strain and quarrel.
Text 5. Nimittanyatarishtani kale tvanukate ninam labadyatarma pakritim drishtvo vachanujam nirpaha.
In course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhishthira, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother.
Text 6. Yudhishthirvacha samprashito tvarakayam jishnur bandhu didrikshaya natam cha punya shlokasya krishnasya cha vichestitam.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said to his younger brother Bhimasena, I sent Arjuna to Dwarka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead Krishna, of his program of work.
Text 7. Gatasam tatunamasa Bhimasena dvanajunaha nayati kasya vahetur naham vededitam anjasa.
Since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he has not returned. I do not know factually how things are going there.
Text 8. Apiter varshinatishtaha sakaloyam upastitaha yadatmano nigam adkritam bhagavan utsishrikshati.
Is he going to quit his earthly pastimes, as Devarshi Narad indicated?
Hare Krishna.
Has that time already arrived?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I just joined with a different link, which is not working, sir. Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Prabhuji, you are reciting tomorrow, not today?
Okay. Oh, yes.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Mansi. Maybe I think it's just a mistake. Yeah, thank you. I'll just put myself on mute.
Which one are you?
Text 9.
Text 9. Yasmanna sampato rajyam tara prana kulam prajaha asan sapatna vijayo lokascha yad anugrahat.
From him only all our kingly opulence, good wives, lives, progeny, control over subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in higher planets have become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us.
Text 10. Pashyotpatanara vyakra divyan boman satehikan tarunan shamsato durat vayam no buddhimohanam.
Just see, O man with a tiger's strength, how many miseries due to celestial influences, earthly reactions, and bodily pains, all very dangerous in themselves, are foreboding danger in the near future by deluding our intelligence.
Text 11. Urvakshi bahavo mahyam spurantyanga puna punaha vibatuscha pihitaye aratashyanti vipriyam.
The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering again and again. I am having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings.
Text 12. Shive shodyantam adityam abhirodhyanalanana mamanga sarameyoyam abhiryepat abhiruvat.
Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly.
Text 13. Shasta kurvanti mam savyam dakshinam pashavo pare vahamscha purusha vyagra lakshaya rudato mama.
O Bhimashena, tiger amongst men, now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me.
Text 14. Mrityuduta kapato yam uluka kampayan manaha pratyulukascha kofaner vishvam vai shunyam ichataha.
Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owls and their rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the whole universe.
Text 15. Tumratisha paridgayaha kampate pusaha tribihi nirgatascha mahamstata sakam cha stanayitubihi.
Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue.
Hare Krishna.
That's it.
That's Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
And thank you so much, Jai Shri Mataji. And thank you so much for Prabhuji. You both recited it so nicely, so clear. And it's so nice the way you sort of pronounced all the words as well. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining in for today's chat session, 14th of May 2023. My name is Krishna Govinda Das. I'm just going to share you the verses that we're going to be reading today. This is verses for Canto 1, Chapter 40, verses 8 and 9. The title is Disappearance of Lord Krishna. Okay, just want to check you can see that. Yep, you can see that. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, just be 1 second. Just recite the introduction verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritcham Naharam Chaiva Narotanam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tadosha Yamudiraye Nastashva Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavata Vata Shlokta Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Okay. Okay, right. Canto 1, chapter 14, verse number 8. Api devarashid nadishtaha sakalo yamapa stitaha yadatmano nigamakridam bhagavan utishishati. Word for word translation. Api, whether Devarishina, by the demigod saint, Narada, Adishtaha, instructed, Saha, that, Kalaha, eternal time, Ayam, this, Pastitaha, arrived, Yada, when, Atmanaha, of his own self, Angam, primary portion, Agridam, manifestation, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Shati is going to quit. Translation. Is he going to quit his earthly pastimes, as Devarishi Narada indicated? Has that time already arrived? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As we have discussed many times, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, has many plenary expansions, and each and every one of them, although equally powerful, executes different functions. In Bhagavad Gita, there are different statements by the Lord, and each of these statements is meant for different plenary portions, or portions of the plenary portions. For example, Shri Krishna, the Lord, says in Bhagavad Gita, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or discernment of Bharata, the predominant rise of the religion, at that time I discern myself. From Bhagavad Gita 4.7. And from Bhagavad Gita 4.8, the verse that carries on, to deliver the faithful, to annihilate the miscreants, and also to re-establish the principles of occupational duty here in every age. And from Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, verse 24, if I should cease to work, then all humanity would be misdirected. I would also be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all sentient beings. And from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 21, whatever action a great man performs, common men will follow. Whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. As the above statements by the Lord apply to different plenary portions of the Lord, namely his expansions, such as Sankashan, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Narayan. These are all he himself in different transcendental expansions. Still the Lord, as Sri Krishna, functions in a different sphere. So I just sorry, a different, sorry, I'll just read this first sentence again. These are all he himself in different transcendental expansions. Still the Lord, as Sri Krishna, functions in a different sphere, transcendental exchange with different grades of devotees. And yet Lord Krishna, as he appears once every 24 hours of Brahma's time, or after a lapse of 8,640,000,000 solar years in each and every universe, and all his transcendental pastimes are displayed in each and every universe in a routine spool. But in that routine spool, the functions of Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudeva, etc., are complex problems for the layman. There's no difference between the Lord's self and the Lord's transcendental body. Expansions execute differential activities. When the Lord, however, appears in his person as Lord Shri Krishna, his other plenary portions also join in him by his inconceivable potency called Yogamaya. And thus the Lord Krishna of Vrindavan, this is very important, and thus the Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from the Lord Krishna of Mathura or the Lord Krishna of Dwarka. I hope you all understood that. The Virat Rupa of Lord Krishna is also different from him by his inconceivable potency. The Virat Rupa exhibited on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the material conception of his form. Therefore, it should be understood that when Lord Krishna was apparently killed by the bow and arrow of the hunter, the Lord left the so-called mature body in the material world. The Lord is Kaivalya, and for him there is no difference between matter and spirit, because everything is created from him. Therefore, his quitting one sort of body, accepting another body, does not mean that he is like an ordinary human living being. All such activities are simultaneous to one and different by its imperceivable potency. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was lamenting the possibility of his disappearance. It was just a pursuance of a custom of lamenting the disappearance of a great friend. But actually, the Lord never quits his transcendental body, as this was conceived by less intelligent persons. Such less intelligent persons have been condemned by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. They are also known as the Mudas. That the Lord left his body means that he left again his bodily portions of respective dharma, his transcendental abodes, as he left his Varatrupa in the material world. So there is another verse that I'll read in a little while. In the meantime, I'll recite the vacation prayers, and in the meantime, we'll also try and remember these 4 verses, because I'm going to ask a question on that later on to all of you. Om Gyana Timandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmatamina Asme Shigurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Adati Swapidantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Ladita Shri Vishakamitamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Taptakachana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Siddhabhya Patitara Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining in for today's church session again. And asking for your blessings so that I may be able to speak something favorable on the wonderful topics of Shri Krishna and all these wonderful devotees. I also offer my respectful obeisances to my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Swami. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Vishnu Pashtaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Swami Tinamane, Bhakti Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Vishnu Pashtaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devan Gaurvani Pshayane, Navashesa Sunnivadi Pashata Desatarinam. Okay, hopefully you had a look at those 4 verses that was discussed in this particular purport. Now, does anybody remember one of those verses at all? I left the page on there for you to see as well. Anyone? Okay, I'll just go back. One of the most popular verses that Srila Prabhupada recites is Bhagavad Gita 4.7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata jutanam dharmasya dharmanam sujamya. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice or discernment of Bharata, the predominant rise of religion at that time, I discern myself. So from when we read the Krishna book, you see the word appearance of Lord Krishna. Now, many of you may think, well, why does it say appearance? You know, Krishna's always there, he's always existed, he's always omnipresent, omnipotent. But the word appearance may always feel like at the birthday of Lord Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna, as it's sometimes titled. But actually, it's actually mentioned here in the verses that although Krishna is always spiritual by nature, there is no difference between him in the spiritual sky or in the material world. But just for the fact of descending into the material world, in this case, the second verse actually specifically says in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, he comes to deliver the pious or the faithful devotees. And then he also comes to annihilate the miscreants. And he comes to re-establish the principles of religion. He appears every millennium. So it's not that Krishna does not exist at all. He's always there personally. But just to enhance the Leela for his devotees, and also to establish the principles of religion, he appears in different forms. As you know, he comes in the 10 incarnations, starting with Kurma, the tortoise. He comes in as Varaha, the boar, Matsya as the fish, Matsya as the first incarnation. And then he comes in as, of course, Lord Nrsimhadev, half man, half lion incarnations. And he comes as Parashuram, comes as Lord Ramachandra, and he comes as Balaram in one sense. And then he also comes as himself, Krishna. Then he comes later on in the golden avatar form as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with his associates, Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Then he comes also as Lord Buddha. And then ultimately he'll come at the end of Kali Yuga as Kalki. But the important thing is that he specifically comes, to deliver the pious and to annihilate miscreants and to re-establish the principles of religion. And you may think, well, why is it possible that whenever Krishna comes, and why is the actual atmosphere or the actual environments all become degraded again? And in this particular verses that Jayashree and Pramod Prabhu were reading earlier on, it actually tells you that when Lord Krishna descended, into the next verse actually explains that a bit more. When he descends, all piety comes into fructification. There's happiness, there's abundance of wealth, there's abundance of, prosperity. People are becoming more pious, and he comes along with all this entourage. And as soon as he leaves, as they were reading earlier on, there's so much impurity that is prevailing. There is so much bad omens that's taking place. That he says about the jackals howling and so forth. And later on, it does mention about Arjuna. He lost all his powers because the fact that they actually had all this because of the goodwill of Sri Krishna's association. Now, a few weeks ago, we actually mentioned about how Krishna protected the Pandavas in so many ways. If Krishna had not intervened, then certainly, there would have been so much calamities for the Pandavas. They were already in so much difficulties. They were exiled. They were fed a poisoned cave. They gave them a beautiful palace made of wax that they set on fire while they were sleeping in there. They were exiled for 13 years and 14th year completer. But ultimately, Krishna was always there protecting them. It may feel that they were actually suffering. Indirectly, they were going through that difficult stage in their life, but they were actually always protected by Sri Krishna. And many of you probably feel that as well. In your lives, there are times when we're actually thinking, my gosh, Krishna, you've protected us in so many ways. We had so many difficulties. We had doubts about you. We have so much problems, perhaps financial problems, perhaps health problems, personal problems, family problems. There's problems galore, even going to work, dealing with your boss, dealing with other members of family members. There is always constantly this burden on top of our heads all the time. But if we completely surrender to Krishna, it actually takes care of all our needs in so many ways. Now, the other two verses, anybody can remember the other two verses? I'll just cover it up. Okay, I hope you're all there. Okay, the other verse which I read, I should see the word that the whole humanity will be misdirected. So that's how they show that Krishna is setting an example. He's showing that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was a dutiful king, he was a dutiful father, he was a dutiful husband, dutiful son as well in one case, away with Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, also today Vicky and Vasudeva. But ultimately, if he did not perform his duties, it would be the cause of creating an unwanted population and would thereby destroy the peace of all sentient beings. So in other words, if he did not set an example of how a personality should behave, then the whole world would be misdirected. There would be overpopulation, there would be quarreling, fighting. I mean, of course, the Mahabharata did take place, but it was Krishna who tried to intervene in so many ways, tried to make peace with the Kauravas, with the Pandavas. But unfortunately, the Kauravas were very envious of the Pandavas, didn't know what to even listen to Krishna, to that fact that even they tried to attack Krishna, tried to prevent him from leaving Hastinapur because he had come there to make peace with the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Duryodhana had the audacity to try and capture him. But then what did Krishna do? He actually showed partial of his rupa form. But even then, they laughed it off. They didn't believe that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it actually shows you that even Krishna may be directly in front of you, but you may not necessarily see the qualities of Krishna. Just like many people at the temple, they come to the temple, they take darshan, but they look around, they're not really observing the Supreme Personality of Godhead on the altar, the all attractive, Radha and Krishna on the altar, the way they're decorated, taken care of, the way they're being fed in so many nice ways, so many offers, the arti, the way it's been performed. But for them, they see it's just like perhaps an idol. They don't see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't see him as an expansion of the Supreme Lord himself. So in that context, there's another verse I'd like to share with you, because later on he actually says that he actually expands himself in so many different forms, that they're all partial forms of his. But in one way, there's no difference from him in the spiritual aspect or the spiritual aspect, spiritual aspect or spiritual aspect. It's just, although we say that he's descended in the spiritual world, like in the form of a human being, like say in the case of Lord Ramachandra, when he appeared, he came in the form as a human being, and it was specifically that leela that it took place because Ravana got a benediction that he would not be killed by any demigods or great powerful personalities. But when I believe Lord Brahma told him, what about humans or animals? He laughed it off. He said, oh, no, don't worry, I can deal with them. And I understand there was a story where Vali actually had a quarrelsome fight with Ravana, and he defeated Ravana. And the whole purpose of Rama coming as a human being, because although he had a vow or benediction that he could not be killed by any demigods, he sort of ignored the fact that he can be killed by a human being. So it was Lord Ramachandra in the form of a human being that actually eventually gave the Ravana the arrow to seize his life. So Krishna has many tricks, just like Hiranyakashipu. He got so many benedictions from Lord Brahma that he cannot be killed in the day or the night, inside or outside of a building, in the land or the sea, by any animal, demigod, by any weapon. But Lord Nrsimhadev came and appeared as half man, half lion. And he was killed neither in the day or the night, but during twilight. He was neither killed inside or outside, but actually was at a veranda which was half in and half out. Was not killed by any animal or beast. It was actually half human and half animal with the form of a lion on his head. And also he was not killed by any weapons at all, but by the sharp nails of Lord Nrsimhadev. So Krishna, he is Yogeshwara, the master of all mystics, and there's nothing that he cannot do to override the burden of the spiritual world by evil tyrants like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana. So the verse I was going to share with you is actually, just one other thing, just before I change that verse, when I did mention about earlier on, that the Lord Krishna is not different from, here it is. And that's Lord Krishna of Vrindavan is different from Lord Krishna of Mathura and the Lord Krishna of Dwarka. Okay, I'm just going to ask a question. Why do you think that is? Why is Krishna of Vrindavan different from Lord Krishna of Mathura or Dwarka? Does anybody know? Perhaps I can give you a little hint about his Leela.
I can attempt it. I'm not sure, but I can attempt
sure.
it.
Pranjali Bhattacharya, yeah.
So Hare Krishna. So Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, he is in his main rasa was in the Madhurya form, and he is the Krishna of Golaka. Lord Krishna in Dwarka is Dwarkadish. He's the Narayan form, the Vishnu form. So there's his main rasa was the Aishwarya rasa. Whereas in Vrindavan we find him as in Madhurya Ras, he leaves that there, and when he moves to Dwarka, he goes there as the king in his Aishwarya form.
Yeah, that's right. That's 100%. Perhaps of Shailesh Prabhu, if he was to elaborate on that form of Krishna in Dwarka.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I was Shailesh Prabhu.
Did you ask for me? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Mataji mentioned about the different moods of Krishna in Vrindavan and Mathura.
Krishna of Vrindavan never leaves Vrindavan. He's eternally in Madhurya Ras with his gopis and gopas. He never leaves Vrindavan, and all external forms of Krishna that appear outside of Vrindavan are expansions of Krishna, taking different rasas and different leelas. So the Krishna that was born of Mother Yashoda, and he was actually born of Mother Yashoda, according to our acharyas, never actually leaves Vrindavan. So when Akrura takes Krishna, he actually takes Dwarkadish Krishna, because the Vishnu Krishna and Vrindavan Krishna merge when Nand Maharaj brings baby Krishna, the Vishnu Krishna. They actually merge into one, and all of the demons which are annihilated are actually by the Vishnu Krishna, and all of the rasa, lila, etc. that's done with all the gopis and gopas is performed by Vrindavan Krishna. So there are different moods even within the same personality, and Vrindavan Krishna never steps outside of Vrindavan.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. But you explained that so much more better than I would have, and that's very true. So thank you so much to Shailesh Prabhu and also to Panchali Mataji. So yes, this is a wonderful book, Bhakti Janani, by His Holiness Shiva Maharaj. It talks about the pastimes of Mother Yashoda and Krishna. Although we assume that Mother Yashoda came in Vrindavan and she sees Krishna not as a supreme personality of God, but just a dear son, but actually she is eternally Krishna's mother, even in the Golaka Vrindavan. And the fact is that, as Prabhuji explained, that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan at all. He's always residing there. And this is something else I learned recently by reading that book. So I would certainly recommend if everybody has a chance to read that particular book, Bhakti Janani. It's the story, the leader of Damodar Leela pastimes, which takes place during Kartik time. So there was a particular verse I was going to share with you. I'm sure many of you have heard this. Does anybody want to read this particular verse? It's from Sri Upanishad. It's the invocation prayer.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can read it.
Yes, sure. Jai Shri Bhakti.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate.
Yeah, good. And the translation.
Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is perfectly complete, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Oh, thank you so much. And basically, this is actually explaining that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually always complete. It's never sort of dissected or cut into little fragments that causes like a portion of this expansion itself. Although each personality may have a different level of level of not necessarily superiority, but level of recognition. We actually understand Krishna as a Supreme Lord, but from him, all the other avatars expand from him. Similarly, it just actually says that whatever is actually emanates from him, such as this phenomenal world, is perfectly as complete wholes. So even though we may see it as imperfect, but actually it's always complete because it is created by the Supreme Lord through his potencies. And then it's quite important to actually understand. I'll just read this particular paragraph. The complete whole, supreme absolute truth is the complete personality of Godhead. Realization of impersonal Brahman or Paramatma, or the super soul, is in complete realization of the absolute complete. The supreme personality of Godhead is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. That actually means, I'm not sure if it actually explains this. Satchit Ananda Vigraha is full of eternal knowledge, bliss, eternal knowledge, bliss. What was the other one? Sorry. I just had an 80-mile cycle ride this morning. I'm just feeling tired. Is it eternal? Full of knowledge and bliss. Yeah, that is it. Sorry. Realization of impersonal Brahman is realization of his Sattva feature or his aspect of eternity. And Paramatma realization is realization of his Sat and Chit features. His aspects of eternity and knowledge. His aspects of eternity and knowledge, but realization of the personality of God is realization of all transcendental features, Sat, Chit, Ananda, bliss. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the Absolute Truth and their completeness. Vigraha means form. As the complete whole is not formless, yet if he were formless, or if he were less than his creation in any other way, it could not be complete. The complete whole must contain everything, both within and beyond our experience, otherwise it cannot be complete. So even though the Supreme Lord may expand himself in different forms, it's always considered to be always complete, both within and beyond our experience. It's quite a very important verse that everybody should try and remember. It's a very nice sort of rhythm to the actual shloka as well. Om Punam, Ada Punamina, Puna Punam Udachite, Punasha Punam Adaya, Punamiva Vashishyate. And it's a very beautiful book, Shri Upanishad. If you haven't read it, I certainly recommend the devotees to read this. I'm just going to go to the next verse. This is verse 9, which is also part of today's chat session. Yasmana sapadurajyam daraha panaha kulam pajaha asan sapatna visayo lokaschayadano grahad. Translation: from him only all our kingly opulence, good wives, lives, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future combinations in higher planets have become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Material prosperity consists of a good wife, good home, sufficient land, good children, aristocratic family relations, victory over competitors, and by pious work, attainment of accommodations in the higher celestial planets for better facilities of material amenities. These facilities are earned not only by one's hard manual labor or by unfair means, but by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Prosperity earned by one's personal elective also depends on the mercy of his Lord, mercy of the Lord. Personal labor must be there in addition to the Lord's benediction. But without the Lord's benediction, no one is successful simply by personal labor. The modernized man of Kali Yuga believes in personal endeavor, denies the benediction of the Supreme Lord. Even a great sannyasi of India delivered speeches in Chicago protesting the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. But as far as Vedic Shastras are concerned, as we find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate sanction for all success rests in the hand of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhishthira admits this truth in his personal success, and it behooves one to follow the footsteps of a great king and a devotee of the Lord to make life full of success. One could achieve success without the sanction of the Lord, and no medical practitioner would fail to cure a patient. Despite the most advanced treatment of a suffering patient, by the most up-to-date medical practitioner, there is death. And even in the most hopeless cases, without medical treatment, a patient is cured astonishingly. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause of all happenings, good or bad. Any successful man should feel grateful to the Lord for all he has achieved. So we can actually see that many people actually consider themselves to be powerful, consider themselves to be wealthy, consider themselves to be opulent, knowledgeable in so many ways, but they don't actually see that that particular qualities have all come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna actually is the benefactor of all humanity. He's providing everything that we can actually seek to. He provides everything for us in order to us to pursue in our spiritual life or mature life. But unfortunately, the materialists, they don't see that whatever that they've achieved in their lives is true by the mercy of Krishna. They're very much atheistic. They don't really recognize that they've actually been given that privilege by the Supreme Lord. As like Krishna says, I am the ability of man. From me comes intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness. But as the materialists, they're very proud, they're very atheistic, they don't actually feel that they deserve any sort of credit or pass any credit to the Supreme Lord. Because of their arrogant nature, they feel that they have created everything themselves, that they've achieved whatever they've achieved in their life. But here, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually clearly explains from him, the Supreme Personality of God, our kingly opulence, good lives, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in higher planets have become possible. All of this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. Just like I mentioned earlier on, how Krishna had protected the Pandavas during the difficult times caused by the envious Kauravas. Krishna was guiding them in every way. As the beautiful verse says that if somebody wants to harm you and Krishna wants to protect you, there's nobody in the world that could actually cause you any harm. But if Krishna wanted to kill you, there's nobody in this world who could save you or that person from being killed by Krishna. So it just shows you that we're completely dependent on Krishna in so many ways, not just from the aspects of mature life, but also everything that we see in advancement in our spiritual life. By the mercy of the spiritual master, we get the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, we cannot make any spiritual advancement. Yasha Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada, Yasha Prasada, Nukati Katopi. So even that particular verse, the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, grace are produced by rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna. Yajna is for the prescribed duties. So it actually shows you that when we perform yajna, Harinam Sankirtan, praying to the Supreme Lord, then He produces rains. From Him, rain emanates. From Him, the sun comes. From the rains, grains are produced, harvested, and it actually feeds all the livestock, feeds all the humanity. So sometimes we don't always recognize that. We always think that this material nature is going according to its own causes. But even Krishna says, just like I enter into each planet, by my energies, they stay in orbit. How is it possible for a huge planet which weighs millions and millions of tons to stay in orbit, circulating around the sun, at a precise timing with all the other planets. Even if the scientists actually calculated the clouds in the sky, they weigh tons and tons, but yet they're actually just floating in the sky. How is it possible? They just don't fall down. You may actually say, well, the density of the cloud is lighter than air. But also, how is it possible that the density of the clouds is lighter than air? Who gives them that density? Of course, everything comes from Krishna himself. I'll just quickly share a couple of verses. I did find it. Well, actually, this is just going back to the previous verse itself. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he says that Ezekiel and Jaquit's earthly past ancestor Varishnada indicated, has that time already arrived? So along the passages that mentions about the importance of the Supreme Lord descending into the material world. Now, there are important verses within the Bhagavad Gita as well that says that after many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me. Such a person is very rare. So after many thousands of lifetimes, you can imagine Lord Krishna has only appeared once in the 24 hours of Lord Brahma. That's 8,640,000 years. So during that time, can you imagine how many species of life that we've gone through, one life after another life after another life. And in this particular age of the Chatra Yuga, where Lord Krishna appeared within the 24 hours of Brahma, how fortunate we are to actually able to understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And that's thanks to Srila Prabhupada through his wonderful books and translations of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, which we read daily, of Chaitanya Charitamrita, about the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should always think that, we may have done some pious credits in our previous life to be able to understand Krishna. But even then, Krishna says that amongst thousands of men who aim for perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Or rather, of those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it just shows you that amongst thousands of men who aim for perfection, and those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So you can try all you like to learn about Krishna and see who he is, but still, it's only by the potency of our spiritual master will we be able to understand who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I thank you all for joining me, or rather this chat session. I hope I was able to make a few comments on these two verses. Do forgive me. And just, I know this shouldn't be an excuse, but I've just been busy cycling training for an event which is happening in 2 weeks' time. I'll give you more details of that later on. But in the meantime, we have Anju Mataji, all the way from Radhadesh, who's going to be singing a song for us. Anju Mataji, if you want to share your video and also unmute yourself. She's going to be singing Parama Karuna, Jana.
Hare Krishna. I hope Anju Mataji will join soon. Hare Krishna, Anju Mataji. Oh dear, I'll give her a quick...
I'm here. I was on mute, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Is Nayonika ready to read the English translation, please?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Kishore Mataji, would you be able to make the text slightly bigger?
Jyoti Mataji will be able to do
Jyoti
it.
Mataji,
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I see it's actually fixed, the text sizes. So that's okay. Have it back to where you had it, Jyoti Mataji. Nice to meet you, Anju Mataji from Radhadesh. Everybody give 3 Haribols to Anju Mataji. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
Haribol. So can we start reading the translation?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Nainika, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The two lords, Natya Gorachandra, Nitai Gorachandra, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that they introduce a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. 2. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Hare without any motive. 3. My dear brother, just try and examine this. Within the 3 words, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and beasts cry and stones melt. 4. But Locha Das regrets that I am entrapped by sense gratification, since I have no attraction for the lotus feet and Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then Ramaraj. The superintendent of death is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Should I start the bhajan, Prabhuji?
Yes, go ahead, Anju Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Param Karuna Pahudui Jan Nitai Gora Chandra. Param Karuna Pahudui Jan Nitai Gora Chandra. Sab अवतार सारा शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंदा. सब अवतार सारा शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंदा. 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 भजो भजो भाई चैतन्य निताई सुदृढ़ विश्वास कोई. भजो भजो भाई चैतन्य निताई सुदृढ़ विश्वास कोई. विषय छारिया सिरा से बाजिया मुखे बोलो हरि हरि. विषय छारिया सिरा से माजिया मुखे बोलो हरि हरि. 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 देखो रे भाई त्रिभुवन नाई हे मुनि दयाल दाता. देखो रे भाई त्रिभुवन नाई हे मुनि दयाल दाता. पशु पाखे जोरे पाशाने विदार सुनी जार गुण गाथा. पशु पाखे जोरे पाशाने विदार सुनी जार गुण गाथा. सुनी जार गुण गाथा. सुनी जार गुण गाथा. सुनी जार गुण रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आस संसारे मजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नाही लो आस आपने करम गुंजाइश मन को होए लोचन दासा आपने करम गुंजाइश मन को होए लोचन दासा को होए लोचन दास को होए लोचन दासा को होए लोचन दास को होए लोचन दासा परम करुणा बाहु दुई जन मिटाए गोरा चंद्रा. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Anju Mataji and to Nayika for the recitation. Very lovely. Thank you so much. How old are you, Nayika?
I'm 13 years old.
Oh, very good. Can you sing as well?
Yeah, a little.
Oh, that's good. Next time, perhaps you could just speak to Shuji Kishore Mataji to arrange a nice song that you can sing a bhajan or even the Hare Krishna Kirtan. Be nice. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in for today's session.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Anju Mataji. Nice to meet you as well. And is there any questions or comments from today's class?
Sorry, Prabhuji?
No, I was just saying to anybody else, if there's any comments or questions for the class or corrections, should I say? No.
No,
Okay.
I don't have any question, Prabhuji. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Somebody actually mentioned a note. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it says Bhajan Rita Bhashila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's in Bengali and I can understand the words as I am Bengali. Okay. I was wondering as Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in Bengali, kindly correct me if I'm wrong. So when Jyoti Ben Mataji shared the particular song, she mentioned on the last verse, Lochana Prabhu. Lochana Das. Do you have your song sheet with you, Anju Ben? You have on the song sheet, could you recite the last line of that song?
Yeah, Prabhuji, yes. Apun karam bhunjaye shaman koho ye lochan das.
Yep, so that's Lochan Das. He was actually, I can't recall exactly the times historically when Lochana Prabhu actually appeared, but it was certainly after the times of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. So just like Jaidev Prabhu, Narottam Das Thakur, and many of the wonderful disciples from the acharyas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, these wonderful personalities wrote so many wonderful songs. And yes, that's in Bengali. So, Anjali Mataji, next time, perhaps if you want to sing a song as well, please get in touch with Shuji Kishore Mataji.
All right, Prabhuji, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji, for clarifying that doubt.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone, and hopefully see you soon again, yeah?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
This is a humble basis. Vancha Kalpa,
Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you to Jyoti Mataji as well for always having the pages ready for the Shabbat Bhagavatam Shlokas, and also to Shuji Kishore Mataji for arranging a devotee to sing every week as well. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for an excellent class. Hare Krishna. Brilliant singing.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Shriji Mataji.